Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here, thank you for still supporting me. Now, I've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks, but I am back. So let's get into this video, and as always, if you don't like it, fuck off to a new one. Let's get started.
Lucas?
Yes?
What does he have in his blood?
There's an old story. It tells of the Prima Macula. The alchemists say it was the first corruption, and that it silently travels in the blood of certain families. But something happened. The Great Break, and the macula awoke in Hugo's blood.
But what will it do to him?
The macula cares for neither good nor evil. It evolves with its host. To change things. The world. You know, your mother and Laurentius were trying to help your brother.
But they failed.
No. I think they just ran out of time. This is it.
Hugo, wake up. Come on, we'll walk from here. It'll warm you up.
If we follow the aqueduct, we should arrive at Chateau d'Ambrage before nightfall.
What's that noise?
Nothing. It's just frogs, Hugo.
Frogs?
He seems well.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Okay, everybody. I just want to reiterate thank you if you're still here supporting me after my 2-week hiatus. You are very much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. So we were last seen running away. Laurentius is dead. Poor Lucas, he is now also an orphan. I mean, he was probably an orphan before, but like now he has no master, so that fucking sucks. We also learned that Hugo's specialness has something to do with his blood, and it's apparently neither good or evil, it sounds evil if it's hurting him. Who the fuck knows? When you're talking about shit being a host, Hugo's a host to a parasite,
Hugo?
You know,
Where
like,
are you going?
who the fuck knows? We'll hopefully dive more into it. I kind of wanted to like
Hugo?
research what the Prima Macula was, but I felt like that was probably like an actual gaming vocabulary and not necessarily real life history. So I decided to not research it. However, today's topics are going to be about the 100-Year War, and let's look at this beautiful shield.
An English shield. Where did you find that?
Over there, lying on the ground.
Listen, Hugo. Put that down. It's not for children.
Oh, you're no fun.
Come on, let's go.
Do you smell that?
Oh,
So not only will we be talking
Yes,
about the 100-Year
horrible.
War, we will also still incorporate gaming, mechanics, curiosities, gifts, hidden achievements, and etc., etc., so on and so forth.
Lucas, come quick, look.
Oh my god.
Are they all dead?
We can't carry on.
Amicia, we have to follow the aqueduct.
Okay, so the dramatic music is cueing you to continue on to this particular area where the soldiers are. However, what you need to do is before you venture off over there is to turn around and go back because we need to collect a flower for Hugos Herbarium. Now, for some odd reason, when you are first, I'll get to it. What you want to do is you want to turn back around and you want to go up this pathway and just go ahead and go all the way down to the end of this, like, meadow grove, whatever the hell it's called. You'll notice that Lucas is following you, but for some stupid reason, Hugo isn't following you. I don't know why that is, but he will follow you once you reach the plant. Okay? So what you want to do is just continue on. I don't know if it has something to do with the gaming program, but when you get to the flower, it will basically like cue Hugo to come back and follow you, because if you notice, right, once I get to the flower, I can't interact with it. I was not able to interact with it. I can only interact with flowers unless Hugo is present. So after realizing that I can't interact with it without Hugo, I turned around, and then once you see how I'm now walking instead of running, now it's queuing, I guess, the programming to have Hugo come back so we can go ahead and activate that Hugos Herbarium flower.
They're so pretty.
What are they again?
Gladioli.
Ah, yes, of course.
Don't you like them?
That's not a good sign.
Hugo, they're flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So just a couple of disclaimers before we, get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. I will be going over about the 100-Year War, like I stated earlier, but please understand that I will not be going in a full-on depth because there are obviously way better videos out there than I could ever do. I'm not a fucking historian. Don't get me wrong, this game has really piqued my interest in looking into the historical facts about this time period, but we ain't about to do... we are not about to do a whole ass ensemble of the 100-Year War because I ain't got time for that. However, I will be going over historical facts, and if that's not your shtick, and if you're just like, fuck this monotone history lesson, again, please proceed to fuck off to a different video. You will not hurt my feelings. Not at all. Alright, let's continue on with the story. So after we've collected the plant for Hugos Herbarium, we want to go back and head to where all these soldiers are. So during this time period in the game, right, it's 1349, we are not only in the peak of the Black Plague being spread out through Europe, we are also in the 100-Year War.
We don't have a choice.
This time period. So, the 100-Year War was started in 1337 when King Edward III proclaimed himself the King of England and the King of France. Of course, this pissed off the King of France, King Philip. So, long story short, that's why the 100-Year War started. The 100-Year War is not exactly 100 years. It lasted between 116 years. Or so, and people like to also, well, not people, but historians say that it really wasn't a year. It wasn't a war that lasted like 100 years. There were breaks in between. There were truces laid out, and we'll talk about one truce later on when I get to it. Okay? So, seems pretty silly enough. Why would King Edward III proclaim himself also as the King of France? So, all wars are always started based off of ego and land. So let's talk about that. So, in order to talk about how it started, we need to talk about family history. Now, I've been reading this book, well, online, obviously, and I will link that in the description. I'll always link all my sources when I do, like, my research topic. Like, when I talk about, like, the history, tidbits and facts in this, particularly for this game, because obviously this game is based in real time, like a real time period. It's not fictional, the time period. The evil, rats are fictional, at least in the sense where they were eating people, but this time period is not fictional. It is a real time period.
Oh, the horse. Lucas? I don't know. Oh no! The rats! Keep away from them!
Yeah, if freaking, rats that ate people, at least to this degree, were a real life thing, it would be fucking terrifying. Like, fucking terrifying. Okay. That's a whole different war in itself. But I digress. Let's talk about, Edward III. So, Edward III was King of England, and his father was King Edward II, and his mother was Isabella, a princess to a daughter of King Philip IV. The current reign at this time period for King Edward would be King Edward III, would be King Philip V. It is very confusing going back and forth between thirds and fourths of names. Reading through it was just a pain in the ass, because I was just trying to figure out, okay, which Edward, which Philip, who are we talking about, okay? So, Edward III and King Philip V, I believe, are cousins, okay? And so, his King Edward III, his mother is Isabella, is from France, and she married King Edward II, who was the King of England. Now,
Looking for things to steal.
But why? To survive, probably.
at this time,
Yes.
during this time, before the war even started, there has always been a thought for portions of land in France. At this time, France was a very high-powered country, politically, economically, and culturally at the time, versus England they were actually considered like just a low country, just cannot get their shit together. And if you read further into King Edward II and King Edward I and all that, you can clearly see why England was not able to get their shit together until King Edward III came into play. So, portions of land that were fought for in France, a big chunk of it was in southern France, and that's where this game that we're playing, this is where we are location-wise. We are in the kingdom, where we are in southern France. So it's just really interesting to see how this plays out as far as like the characters we're working with. Because remember, the characters, Amicia and Hugo, they're not lowly peasants, right? Their father, at least what it seemed, was a knight and a nobleman. So they come from wealth, okay? They come from wealth. And when you come from wealth, right, especially at this time period, if you were a nobleman, you were high up in the feudalism pyramid. And if you haven't studied feudalism, I'm not going to go into it in depth, but overall think of it as a hierarchy of where people stand. Obviously, the king stands at the top, the peasants stand at the bottom of this pyramid. However, who makes up most of the pyramid? Who makes up the base of the pyramid? The peasants, right? And so the peasants work for the clergy and the noblemen and the dukes to the king, and it works its way up. So, long story short, feudalism is a hierarchy of people, and in order for it to work, they all need to work together to serve the higher up and serve the people below.
Oh, Lord. It's horrible. But it worked.
Okay, so at this time, right, the land, again, the history behind, like, who owned which land, it goes back and forth if you look more into the history. But let's just say that due to, you know, marrying people off, because obviously Isabella is from France, right? She was a princess of France, and so marrying her off to someone in England, the King of England, we're now sharing power and we're sharing lands. So this works out in its favor for France, right? Because, you know, the King of England, even though he's a king, right, and he owned land in France, he didn't own it outright as a king. He owned the land outright as a duke, okay? And so, when you look at the hierarchy of feudalism, the duke has to answer to the king, meaning pay homage to the king. And this is, you know, very embarrassing, right? If you're the fucking King of England and you're paying homage to another king, it doesn't look good. You don't look good. Right? It's embarrassing. It's like, why the fuck do I have to pay this guy for land? I should just outright own this land. And that's how King Edward III saw this. That's how he saw owning portions of the land in France that were already indebted to England, but still being paying homage to the King of France. Okay, before I continue on with King Edward III, just a reminder that we pick up things on the way, so that way we can upgrade our sling and equipment. I noticed when I was playing further into the game that if I run out of things, I'm gonna run out of like ingredients and stuff. I might run out of things to create or things to upgrade my sling. So that was another reason for going back and replaying stuff again, just making sure that we collect all the things that we are able to see and find and collect, so that way we can upgrade everything on time and not feeling like we're missing something and dying a bajillion times because we're running out of stuff. Okay, so now we're going to get to our first curiosity for this episode. Once again, make sure you collect all the tools, upgrade your equipment, and we can press on forward. So what I did, I decided to just light that fire cart on fire first. You don't have to, I just did it because why not? What you can do, and what you have to do anyways, is grab this disposable stick, you're going to light it on fire, and then walk to the cart. Once we get to it, we can go ahead and move that cart. Now, that's your first instinct, but instead of moving it, what you want to do is take out the soldiers first before you start moving the cart. And I found this way to be a lot easier because when you first move the cart and then the soldiers notice you, you have to let go of the cart, then open up your sling, and it just like, it's not very fluid and you could most likely die if you don't time it correctly. So take out the soldiers first. Once you take out the soldiers, you're going to move the cart. So when you first get to the cart, it wants you to go to the right where that cross is. However, what you want to do is instead of going that way, what you want to do is go the other way where I just took out the second soldier. So I'm going to take my cart and I'm going to go ahead and turn it left. And I'm going to go ahead and go to where I killed my second soldier. Where I killed my second soldier is where is going to be our first curiosity. And so, when you kill the soldiers in this game, you can collect stuff off of them. Kind of like in Tomb Raider. If you've been watching my previous episodes, you'll notice I refer to Tomb Raider very often because I just get Tomb Raider vibes with medieval with a medieval twist to it. So our first curiosity is going to be a scythe. And so if we go ahead and open it, right, we can go ahead and see it. And remember, at this time, we are not only fighting in a 100-year war, we're also dealing with plague. So the economy at this time is like going to shit. So you fight with what you have. And so once you collect your curiosity, then you can go ahead and take your cart and press on forward to where we killed the first soldier and move forward and continue on with the game. So back to King Edward III. So not only did he want to possess, take over his lands as a duke, as lands as a king, the other reason particularly for why this war had also started was because, if I remember what I talked about earlier, we have people marrying off each other, particularly the King of France, right? Kings of France at the time would marry off their daughters, which, by the way, like, women, what the fuck? Like, why are we... I mean, I shouldn't be surprised women being treated as items, as a status instead of as a human being, but I digress. So, we have the, kings of France marrying off their daughters, and so now it comes into play where I guess at this time King Edward III was the closest relative of the last direct Capetian king. Again, I'll list my sources in the description. And so I guess this had to date it back to a king of France. So now, not only did King Edward see that, I already own this land, I want to own it outright, but I am also the closest relative to this particular king, so I should be the king of France. Again, England hadn't get their shit together, so we have French monarchs marrying off to English monarchs. And at this time, Edward III and his father, their first language wasn't English, it was French, so it is back and forth. So we now lead up to the war, which started again in 1337. However, our timeline in this game is 1349. And so some time has already passed. King Edward III had won some major battles. We'll talk about that in a different episode on how he won the battle. However, won some battles. And so now we get into... We want to win battles in southern France, which was the majority of this, this duke owning land. Like, this land, right? A big chunk of it was in southern France. Okay, so where we are located in the game, Guyenne or Aquitaine or Gascony or whatever name you want to categorize it for those of us that are history buffs, right? This land was the biggest portion of the land. It was very profitable, it was very prosperous, especially in the sense of wine, and this helped contribute to England's economy. So this land was very important in owning it. So if you own this land, right, it was in your favor, okay? So as a duke, you own it, it's making England prosperous, but you want to own it outright, so you're basically cutting out the middleman, which would be France. And so France is like, well, this is technically our land, it's in our country, so no.
We need to pass below the aqueduct, monsieur.
Alright, so
The rats are everywhere.
at this time, right, because again, in-game, it's supposed to be 1349. At this time, there was technically the Truce of Calais, or Calais, I don't really know how to pronounce it. The truce was for the 100-Year War. Now, this truce started in 1347, and it was only supposed to last till 1348. Now, obviously, due to the plague, it got extended. And it got extended so much all the way to, I believe, 1355. However, right, it's 1349, so why are we still fighting? Remember, this area right here, where we are at in-game, in Guyenne, Gascony, whatever you want to call it, right? Nobody wanted to give that up, so there was still fighting going on regardless of the truce. Now, there wasn't really necessarily fighting up north in France because the King of England was also duke to a few other lands, in northern France. They were not as big though as Gascony, Guyenne, Antiquaine, however you pronounce it. Okay, so just a little tidbit for that. So it makes sense why we have soldiers fighting here in this game during the 100-Year War, regardless of a truce. Now, we have our first and only gift for this chapter coming up. So once we get the torch, we pass those soldiers, we're going to see these 2 other soldiers hanging from this tree. We want to go ahead and release them so the rats will go ahead and eat them and clear a path for us. Now, instead of going to the right in that opening, we'll go to the left, around, and we will go ahead and get our gift, which is an elephant. It's basically a war horn.
This man was probably a captain.
Remember, open up the things that you get. They're just really interesting to read and see. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not a gift, this is a curiosity. Sorry, second curiosity. We will get to the gift later down the road. Okay, once we've collected our second and final curiosity, we're going to go ahead and enter this little area right here. And you can hear a soldier asking for help. We are also now about to get a hidden achievement for this. Now when I first played this, right, I was trying, you hear the soldier at the end asking for help, and I was trying to save him and I just kept dying, and then I was like, how am I supposed to get to, or he kept dying, excuse me. So what you need to do is put that torch down behind you and then light that on fire, and then you'll get the achievement for saving a soldier. It's a hidden achievement.
You won't give the alert, will you?
The alert? No. I'll be hanged if I knew let you pass.
And so once you get the achievement, you can go ahead and press on forward, or you can let him die too. It's up to you. I wanted the achievement, so I was trying to save him. So you can go ahead and move on forward. You know, this whole like 100-Year War and the plague thing, this killed a lot of people. Like a lot of people in Europe. I mean, the plague kills a lot of people all over the world, but to add war on top of it was just, you know, I'm pretty sure the people in Europe at this time were just fucking miserable. You got war, you got fucking plague, you have family members dying, you're poor, the economy's going to shit, like, it's just a fucking disaster. Sorry, that got really sad. Anyways, let's talk about a new game mechanic. So Lucas is going to give us something new, some new alchemy for us to use. It's called Somnum. And basically what we are able to do is basically put bitches out with some sleeper hold. No, I'm just joking. But we are about to knock this guy out with some sleep powder. Pokemon Go! You'll notice that the alchemy stuff that we learned, right? The Incendio, the Somna, this is all Latin roots. Incendio means to set on fire. Somnia is, you know, if you've heard the term insomnia, right? Meaning not able to sleep. So somna, somnum, somnia, meaning to sleep. Fun fact, isn't learning wonderful? Oh, that's literally all of Pokemon, at least first gen. It's a lot of Latin-based, you know, Pokemon names and Pokemon moves, but I digress. So let's press on forward. Okay, so since now we have Lucas on our team, we are now working in a group of 3 instead of a partnership of 2. And so with that, we get to basically command our partner to help us navigate through the game, so we can explore more. So we basically need to tell Lucas to launch that thing so we can cross over and then get to the other side. So you'll notice I'm looking around, and like I said, it took me like 4 times to figure out where the next thing was. So we're about to get the next gift. And so we want to go ahead and now send Hugo to get the expendable stick.
Go on, Hugo. That's it.
And now we want to press on to try and get our gift, and it's the final hidden thing for this episode. Now, if you don't time it right, you could die, and it's going to be in that direction. So what you want to do is be as quick as possible, like straight up quick as possible. So you're gonna light the stick on fire, you're gonna go down the steps, take a right, a hard right, and move forward. And again, you have to time this really quickly. I tried to get to it quickly, and once I realized that something was finally over there, my stick died and I got eaten by rats. So again, it took me a couple of times to time it correctly till I finally got it. This is my last playthrough, by the way, what we're watching right now. So yeah, if you die, you basically have to start over again with commanding Lucas, and we're not going to do that. We're just going to assume we made it to the other side, and I'll show you that now. Now that we've made it without dying, we can go ahead and get our final thing for this episode, the gift, which is basically a right angle.
For what?
It's an old-fashioned right angle, basically helping, you know, people using the catapults and shit like that to project, to calculate the projections of what they were throwing. Now that we've collected all of the stuff and the achievement, hidden achievement, we can now not worry about having to look around for everything. We can just go ahead and press on forward. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and redo that whole thing again with Lucas launching this catapult thing with the fire, because we need another indispensable stick in order to press on forward. So again, we're just going to redo this whole thing and continue on. So again, tell Lucas to launch it. We want to cross over and then have Hugo get that stick. Once Hugo gets the stick for us, we want Lucas to go ahead and relaunch that thing so we can cross. And now we can move on forward. So now with our dispensable stick, we can go ahead and move on. So we're going to light it up, and we're going to walk our happy ass all the way over to this area right here with the light.
Hugo did the hard part.
I just want us to get out of here.
Me too. Come on, let's go.
We are now coming upon the last and final workbench. So this is our last opportunity to upgrade stuff. So we want to open that chest and upgrade our stuff. Again, depending on what you want to upgrade, it could be your sling, it could be your equipment. Again, it's entirely up to you. Make sure you read what you're going to be upgrading.
Not bad at all.
Okay. So now we have no more things to be wary of, at least, you know, for, again, random curiosities, gifts, hidden achievements, etc. And so we could just press on. Fun fact, I didn't know that chateau meant castle. I don't know. I don't know why that came into my mind right now. I just had no clue. And like, I feel like Amicia's sling is like fucking god tier sling, because like, I can tell you right now, if I threw a rock at a chain, I don't feel like it would fall apart that fucking quickly. Like, I just don't understand. I just can't wrap my head around it. Now, once we come up to here, we can go ahead and see that there's another guard. Now, there's a really cool way to go ahead and kill this guard, and I'm going to show you that right now. It sounds really wrong that I say cool way to kill this guy. I'm telling you guys, I'm not a murderer. I just like my video games violent. I'm sorry if that offends you, but sometimes you gotta get your rage out somewhere, okay? And the violence can range from rated R violence to PG violence. Like, I'm talking about, like, when we're talking about PG violence, I'm talking like Paper Mario violence. That will still entertain me, okay? So, we're gonna go ahead and get our indispensable stick. And we want to go ahead and move on. And we see that carcass of bodies. However, unfortunately, since we murdered this guy this way, we can't get anything from him. As you see, I'm trying to like get to his body just to see if we can grab anything from him, but unfortunately we cannot because he's buried under a bunch of bodies that are on fire. Smart move. Again, you could kill him with your sling, or you can kill him with like that. I just thought that was just a cool thing to show. Don't worry, again, you don't have to collect anything. I thought this stick was like, oh, or was there other stuff around? You know, can I go ahead and see? But there's nothing. Remember, we've collected all our curiosities, gifts, etc. We have collected it all, so I don't know why that was there. It was just like, oh, maybe there's something else over here, but there's not. Okay, so yeah, you could just keep going.
I can't. Monsieur, I don't feel well.
What's the matter?
My head.
The macula. He's afraid. We have to get out of here. Hugo? Hugo! Think of the frogs. Remember how they jumped? You were chasing them. Come on, let's go and see some more.
Yes, we have to get out of here, Amicia.
We will. This place can't go on forever, right?
Alright, the very last thing that we have to worry about are the English soldiers. Now,
there's an awful lot
we want to go ahead, and this is all again about timing. For some reason, I really struggled just getting through because I'm an idiot. So let me just show you my epic fail of being noticed because I'm an idiot and I'm not using my tools that have been provided to me. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sneak behind and I'm just gonna go ahead and distract this guy and then move on forward. And so I do that and then I get noticed and that was a no-go. And yeah, that was no. And so, yeah, I get noticed, and you see I'm having a brain fart of trying to, you know, not crawl anymore, and try to get my sling, and try to get this shit in order, and then fucking Lucas gets murdered. So yeah, if any of your companions gets murdered, you have to start over. So let's go ahead and show you what you should have actually done to move on forward. So instead of distracting this guy with a rock, we're gonna use our new thing that we learned, the Somnom, to put his fucking ass to sleep.
What was that?
Sleep powder, bitches! And then that's how we can go ahead and move on forward without getting noticed. Yay us. Yay for using our brains. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I felt like a dumbass. I was like, why do I keep dying? And then I was like, oh yeah, I have new things that I've learned. Maybe I should use them. And yeah, that's really it.
Amicia,
And then we can go ahead and escape.
Look, there are trees again. I think we're getting to the end. Finally.
Now this last part right here, we can just go ahead and just silently walk through. I try to listen to the conversation. And I'll let you go ahead and listen.
Now let us go.
You'll never see us again. I swear.
And so I was like, maybe I can distract this guy and save these people. But that didn't really work. So I was like, well, fuck it. Maybe I can just bonk him on the head and see if that'll work. And then, yeah. Then they just kicked him. And then our scene commences.
Get out of here.
We're following them.
They're running away!
Hugo! Run!
Alicia! Let go of me!
Thank you so much to those of us that have made it to the end. I really enjoy playing this game and appreciate those of you who've been waiting because I've been on a 2-week hiatus. Just life, you know, is just getting in the way. And yeah, I don't really have any other excuses except life. Yeah. Anyways, so if you want to go ahead and like this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you like my content and you want to listen to more of my voice, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And as always, whether you care to hear it or not, have a wonderful fucking day. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later.